will call the regular meeting to order. And Stephen, if it's okay with you, I'm going to appoint you as our secretary.
By all means, thank you.
Awesome. And I'm just thinking, so we've got, do we have Sharon Thomas on the call?
I don't see Sharon here.
So would it make sense to appoint, can I appoint Allie to serve as an alternate? Or I mean, to serve as a regular?
Yes, if Sharon's not here, there's room for Allie to be appointed.
Okay, Allie, is that all right with you?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. Okay, so I will appoint Allie to serve as a regular commissioner. And Laura, were you able to pull up the legal notice?
I can try to share that with you guys now, or if you prefer, I did email it. I don't know if that's easier for Stephen to read it for the record.
So it's still clocking on my computer. I don't know why it's not opening.
Okay. Bear with me 1 second. Let me see if I can share. I just have a few different things open and it's streaming off of my computer.
There we go. Excellent. So, Stephen, if you don't mind reading this into the record, I know it's a little bit long. We've got a long one tonight, but that would be awesome.
So just start at the top, right?
Yep.
The Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Simsbury will hold a public hearing at a regular meeting on Wednesday, June 24th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the main meeting room of the Simsbury Town offices, 933 Hop Meadow Street, Simsbury, Connecticut, via Zoom. Number one, application number 20-03 of Todd and Megan Myers, owners applicants for a variance to Article 8, Section A of the Simsbury zoning regulations to allow the installation of a pool at the property located at 425 Bushy Hill Road, Assessors Map B18, Block 501, Lot 005, in a zone R-25. Number two, application number 20-04 of Evan and Teresa Malone, owners applicants for a variance to Article 8, Section A of the Simsbury zoning regulations to construct an addition to at the property located at 10 Griffin Street, Assessors Map G08, Block 126, Lot 011, in a zone R15. Number three, application 20-05 of Richard Candelario for a variance to Article 8, Section A of the Simsbury zoning regulations to allow the installation of a pool at the property located at 46 West Street Road, Assessors Map G10, Block 104, Lot 001, in a zone R15. At this hearing, interested persons may appear via Zoom and be heard on the issues, and written communications will be received. A copy of the above is on file in the office of the town clerk at 933 Hop Meadow Street, Simsbury, Connecticut.
Thank you very much.
We have, do you have the legal notice for the fourth, Laura?
I do. It's separate. Bear with me 1 second. I'll pull that up.
Okay.
Too many documents.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one latecomer.
Oh.
Not a problem, though.
There we go.
Stephen, I'm sure you could just read it as item number 4 when she scrolls.
Sorry, check mine's still clocking. I don't know what's going on with it. Laura, you know you got to scroll down, right, please?
Oh. Good old Zoom. Laura, you there?
You know, if I might, I believe it's application 20-06. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Of the
You can read that into the record.
of the McDonald's Real Estate Company, care of Russo and Rizzio LLC, owners applicants, for a variance of the Simsbury zoning regulations to Article 10, Section C.2F, semicolon C.7D, to replace two existing menu boards and install two pre-order menu boards, which allow light to project through of the face of the sign, which changes its screen on limited daily basis, and to Article 10, Section C3A, to permit two freestanding signs in four of pre-order boards at the property located at 22 Albany Turnpike. Assessors map A20, block 503, lot 002-B in a B3 zone.
Great, thank you.
Perfect.
So I know for many of you, this is maybe your first ZBA meeting, so welcome. We have some new commissioners as well, so this is new, and we're in a global pandemic, so we're going to do the best we can. We've got a busy agenda, as you can see. What we're going to do is we'll go application by application. So we'll open up the hearing for the first one, and we'll hear their case. I'll close that application. We'll deliberate and vote, and we'll do them sequentially in order so that once yours is heard, once you've had a decision made, you can go on your merry way. Tom, does that make sense to you?
I think that's perfectly fine.
Okay. So I'm going to open up the public hearing for application number 20-03 of Todd and Megan Myers. Who would like to speak? And what you can do is just introduce yourselves and then describe your application.
Okay. Hi, I'm Megan Myers.
Todd.
We are looking to install a 15 by 30 above ground pool in our backyard on a corner lot. The location that we want to put the pool is primarily for safety concerns because we have an existing deck structure. And I want to be able to be on that existing deck and supervising the children in the pool. The other area of the yard that they play in, primarily with their playscape and all of our, sports equipment and everything like that, can be easily seen from all the other areas of our yard. So I was concerned, even if we put the pool somewhere else, that line of sight would be blocked as well, just from keeping an eye on the kiddos.
One of the other concerns we have is this is also the furthest away from any of our neighbors. Just kind of thinking with proximity to being a corner lot, we only have neighbors on two sides as we front Bushy Hill Road on one side and then Laddie Lane on the other. Our neighbor directly across Laddie Lane, which is the closest neighbor per se, as we consider him a neighbor, is basically blocked by 20-foot high landscaping. And you can see that from our pictures. The view from his, and actually he was nice enough to write a letter of support, but the view from his lot is completely obstructed. So the whole goal is that we're kind of minimizing the impact on our neighbors as well. Although we're friendly with everyone. We still wanted to try to minimize that as well as a secondary.
Great. And since you mentioned it, I'll go ahead and read this into the record. This is, it was an email from David A. Harris at 421 Bushy Hill Road, who is a lifelong Simsbury resident. He says, to the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Simsbury, please add this email as a letter of support for Todd and Megan Myers at 425 Bushy Hill Road in their request for a variance to build an above ground pool on their property. As a lifelong resident of 421 Bushy Hill Road, I'm the closest neighbor to the proposed pool location. I fully support their request for the variance and hope that it is granted. The Laddie Lane side of their property is completely landscaped. With this landscaping, I truly cannot see into the backyard of this property. With this landscaping, myself and anyone driving on Laddie Lane cannot see into their backyard. Todd and Megan Myers have been great neighbors, and I support this endeavor wholeheartedly. Great. Any other, like what we typically think of with an application is you describe what you want to do, and then the main consideration that we have is in terms of hardship. So you've stated the safety concerns that you have with having the above ground pool. How far from the deck will it be?
We have it measured out right now at 14 feet.
Okay. And it looks like what I have as a variance request for 13 feet 2 inches. Tom, does that sound into the front yard setback?
It's about, I would say that's fairly close because it's still behind the front yard setback of Laddie Lane by quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I wonder if in the application for a couple of these, if we should state clearly that this is an above ground pool. The applications just read pool, but like I think for the record, we'd want to state that it's an above ground pool.
The application
Mr.
stayed above ground.
Okay, it is an above ground pool. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
it's-
clarify
it's-
that on the record.
Yeah,
Yep.
I have the
Um,
original.
Yep, description of nature of your application, including the amount of variance requested, and install an above ground pool. So it is on the record in the application.
Okay.
And I apologize. I guess I wasn't really, as far as the amount of variance, I know Tom mentioned 13.2. That's what we taped off with our contractor as far as the distance.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And as I stated before, the location will come in a zoning compliance form, and it'll hold to, if we have a copy of the plot plan and or working off the aerial, that pool is located in that location as stated in the application.
Okay. Other commissioners, do you have questions, comments?
So just to ask just so we do our due diligence and ask the obvious questions, have you considered whether you would consider turning the pool 90 degrees, which would put you within the setback lines? I've got to ask the obvious questions.
Again, it was more of a line of sight issue, and then we're also trying to minimize the footprint for our neighbors. We're trying to minimize where everything is. Our existing deck already has that length. We're trying to go with that to kind of compact it a little bit so the kids have more room to play in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Tom, I'm going to ask your guidance on this one. So because it's an above ground pool, it seems to be a bit more portable, if you will, than an in-ground pool. It still requires a variance, but are there different considerations in terms of like this variance, if it were approved, staying with the property?
No, it just falls under the general regulations. We treat a pool as a pool is a pool.
Okay.
In-ground or above ground as far as setbacks are concerned. And the necessity of the variance is on the location that they're requesting. Whether it was in-ground or above ground wouldn't matter as far as the regulations are concerned.
Okay.
Portability or non-portability. But when you get a variance for a pool like that, the variance stays with the property. It gets filed on the land record. So if that pool were to be deconstructed, another pool could be constructed in the future, whether it's above ground or in ground. But this is a variance for an above ground, and it's stated on the record. It could be legally interpreted as only being able to be replaced with an above ground. That would be up to a legal team to decipher.
Yeah, I guess that's where I just think of in terms of like really specifying the footage.
It's permanence, this one, obviously, because of the variance, if someone were to buy the house from the Myers and not want a pool and take down the above ground pool, there are chances of getting an in-ground pool in that same location. They would probably have to require a new variance.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm intrigued, like the same question that Stephen had of like shifting it. So it just, if you reposition it, I wonder if it would just negate needing a variance whatsoever.
Yeah, as Todd said, it's sort of, twofold. It's that line of sight issue into the existing rest of the backyard there for supervision purposes of the kiddos.
Mhm.
And it would, sort of eliminate more of that backyard space by going straight back in that manner.
Mhm.
So we kind of stood, we staked it out that way to see if it would make any sense. And we kind of stood around and saw what we'd be able to monitor and what we wouldn't.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from commissioners?
Just regarding that tree that's right alongside it, are you planning on removing that tree?
Unfortunately, yes, that would be part of it. We have, if you look a little bit further to the west, we actually have a pocket garden there where we've already acquired some plantings to kind of take its place. We weren't overly happy about it, so we've already kind of taken the steps to augment it. We like flowers.
Yep, that's cool. The tree would have to go. That's why I mention it. It's for
Right.
protection of the pool structure.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there anyone else on the call tonight who wants to speak in favor of or against the application?
David Harris, can I just make one comment?
Yes.
Okay, years ago when I was growing up in approximately the same spot that they're putting a pool in, there was probably a 32 by 32 garage there. And in the back of that garage, there was probably 1,000-gallon propane tank that was there too. So I don't think that, with the arborvitaes and whatever that he has planted there, I truly can't see it. But years ago with that garage propane tank, that was way out towards Laddie Lane. I don't know if that'll help you in your consideration, but a pool, the way Todd is describing it, it makes most sense for the use of his property so that the kids can run in the backyard, use the pool, and in the winter when they're doing out all the time playing in that yard, it gives him the space that he wants for those kids to run around and be kids. And thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else want to speak in favor of or against the application? Any other questions for commissioners before we close it? Okay. I'm going to close the application for application number 20-03. So what we're going to do at this point, Todd and Megan, is we're going to deliberate. We can't hear anything else from you at this point. I'm going to ask for a motion, and for some of our new commissioners, we always state the motion in the affirmative.
Go ahead. Who's doing it?
No, you go it.
Oh, thanks, Stephen. I'll make a motion to accept to approve the application for a pool at, what's the street number?
425.
425 Bushy Hill Road with a 13.5-foot variance. Do you need more than that?
If you can just state the hardship.
The hardship being that the pool, if they were to put the pool within their property, it would hinder the sight lines and safety when the children are out in the yard. And with it in this position, they will be able to use the deck as a way to watch the kids, and the rest of the yard will be a safer environment for the children.
Great. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further deliberation? I think it's always nice to hear from a neighbor when we can. I think use of the property, certainly the safety issue is a factor that we take into consideration. Any other issues?
Oh, I'll just say I did a little drive-by today. It was an excuse to go out for a ride. And the position where they want to put the pool, the Laddie Lane side is truly a green screen. You can't see anything. It's a very nicely landscaped green screen. And the way they want to put the pool, I believe, even makes it less visible from Bushy Hill Road.
Right.
So it's just an aesthetic observation.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. Your application is approved. Congrats. We'll be over when you have it ready. We'll come over and take a dip.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. So you'll be in touch with the town. They'll figure out the rest of the paperwork with you, but
Absolutely.
We will be in touch.
thank you for going through the process with us.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, we're going to move on to application 20-04 of Evan and Teresa Malone. Who would like to speak about this application?
That would be me, Evan Malone, and this is my wife, Teresa.
Welcome.
Hi. We're trying to get an 8-foot variance to put a garage with a room above it on the northeast side of our, southeast side of our property. Reason we want to put it on that side is on the either side we have the same variance, and on the left-hand side of our house we have our all the electrical underground coming in, the AC units outside, the sprinkler system out there, so everything's going in on that side. So just looking at the house, the easier way to do it would be to put it on the southeast side. So yeah, we're just looking for an 8-foot variance to put that garage in.
Great. Is there, just if you can describe, is there an existing garage in your building onto it?
No, there's not. We have a shed. It looks like a garage, but that's just a shed.
Okay.
Freestanding shed, yeah.
Yeah. And now that you guys are pros hearing the earlier application, if you can just describe a little bit about any other additional hardships when you think of where else you might put this on the property, or how this is going to fit and enable you to really use the property to the best of its value.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, if you're looking at the front of our house, and if we wanted to try to put it on the left-hand side, we have underground electrical coming into the house, so that would have to be moved. So all the AC units are on that side of the house along with the sprinkler system. So going on that side really wouldn't work. And our neighbors, Marguerite, who's on right now, when they built this, their garage is actually closer to the property line than like on the other side where the house next to us, their house is about 30 feet away from us. Yeah. So there's no structure that's right next to us on the southeast side. And then trying to put a garage in our backyard, we don't really have the biggest backyard. And again, we have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old, and that's kind of like where they play. So we were just thinking that it would be aesthetically would also look best there too.
How about in terms of, safety is certainly a big factor in terms of home improvements and, approving a variance that is not conforming to the regulations. Is there any consideration we should think of in terms of having a garage on your property?
Not that I'm aware of. We went around our neighborhood, and pretty much everybody in our neighborhood has a garage. And that was one of the things, like, we didn't want to change the look of the neighborhood. And that's why we kind of went with this. And nobody else had a garage in our neighborhood, it wouldn't be a big deal. But also I had a total knee replacement, and putting the cars in a garage would help me out greatly during the wintertime. But that's just something that we're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, there's been,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's been a few car thefts in the neighborhood, so I'd feel more at ease if we could put the cars in a garage at night. We're very vigilant, even the kids, and making sure all the cars are locked, but there do tend to be more break-ins in this neighborhood. Thankfully, not recently, but that is another consideration.
And I'm a former Simsbury police officer, so I know about them.
There you go. And is it a 2-car garage?
It would be an oversized one-car garage, but it would be too deep. Just because of the fact, like, if we wanted to put an actual two-car garage side by side, we'd need more than 18 feet. But being that we decided that we would make it too deep, and that's why we decided to put an extra room above it, possibly.
Okay. Great. Other questions from other commissioners?
I'm just curious as far as what is the extent of the variance? Is there a side yard setback in this zone?
Yes, they are in R15 zone and their side yard is 12 feet. And from the measurements on the plot plan, the house is already 22 feet from the side yard line, the property line, and encroaching 18 feet would require their request for that 8-foot variance, I believe it was.
Yes.
They are within all the other setbacks. It's just an encroachment on the side yard for the R15 zone.
Mm-hmm.
And did we hear from the neighbor on that side? Is that by chance Ms. Carnell? Or
That's me. Good evening, everybody. My name is Marguerite Carnell, and I am a neighbor to the north at 33 Seminary Road. And I joined the meeting to speak in support of the applications. Evan and Teresa are terrific neighbors of ours. We feel that the garage is thoughtfully designed. We're really happy that it is 2 bays deep rather than wide. That fits in much better in the neighborhood. And as Evan and Teresa stated, everybody else on Griffin Street does have a garage building. So it only seems fair to let them have one. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. I'm in support.
That's great. Thank you for taking time to join us.
You're welcome.
Anyone else on the call who wants to speak in favor of or against this application? Any other questions or comments from commissioners? And I'm assuming that if you didn't get the variance, so if it was 8 feet shorter, could you even have a garage?
No, because you need 2 feet on each side of the door, and that would be a 6-foot wide door.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to squeak a car in there, especially my wife's car, we'd have a lot of damage to our car. So yeah, it would be too small.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be able to do it.
Great. Any other comments or questions? Evan or Teresa, anything else that you want to say before I close the hearing?
No.
No, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to call the hearing closed, and can I ask for a motion?
okay, I'll make a motion that we approve application 20-04 of Evan and Teresa Malone, owners applicants, for a variance to Article 8, Section A of the zoning regulations to construct an addition at the property located at 10 Griffin Street. In particular, to facilitate a garage, that is the only area that it could be constructed. And furthermore, it will provide enhanced safety for the occupants of that parcel.
And can we just state it's for 8 feet?
And the variance is for 8 feet. Thank you.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Nice, Josh. Deliberation?
So I must admit, I was skeptical at first and sort of got won over because I couldn't figure out why we were squeezing a garage, but the reasons are valid and they strike me as significantly a obstacle to them having a fair safety area of a garage, and the willingness of a neighbor to step forward that's directly impacted and speak favorably helps sway me that this is it's something that needs to be done.
And I appreciate too having it, be too deep instead of too wide. makes a difference. We don't see many of those in town, you know, just being thoughtful and saying, let's try to minimize the variance as much as we can within reason.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I'm going to ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, the motion is approved. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, thanks for joining us tonight, and the town will be in touch with you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
too. Okay.
Can I make a request quickly of the commission? Can whomever seconded the first application, let me know. I can't remember who did that. I didn't jot it down. Joan, you had put the motion forward to approve and someone seconded it.
I think that was Stephen.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll take it. It was me.
There we
I
go.
just wanted to have something on paper. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, move along. I'm
awesome.
good.
All right, let's open up application number 20-05 of Richard Candelario. Who would like to speak on this application?
Hi, Richard Candelario and my wife Lisa. We're requesting to install an above ground pool. The pool area will sit to the right of the garage and towards the front plane of the garage. The specific hardship is the way the property sits on the corner of West and Firetown. The back plane of the house falls in Firetown and the garage is set back facing Firetown.
Mm-hmm.
What is the extent of the variance that you're requesting?
For them, I've worked very closely with them, Stephen, and I've been trying to help them coordinate some form of a plan for this because we've had several locations in here. Their general variance is to extend the pool into the front yard. It's basically about 24 feet into the front yard from what we were discussing. It's a 22-foot wide pool, and they're a little bit encroached into the rear plane of the house. They've got a very unique situation due to the age of the house being on the corner of Firetown and West. And when I went out there and took a look, if they met their rear yard setbacks, they would pretty much have about a 8-foot strip to put a pool in that's 22 feet wide. So the nature of the request from my calculations was about a 24-foot encroachment into the front yard of Firetown.
Okay.
So is that the amount of the variance is 24 feet?
I would say that that would give them the room to put the pool where they want to put it, yes.
And
As drawn on one of the sketches that we have, I believe it's got my ink marks on it and everything else.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Candelario, that does not sound correct. Please correct me.
It is correct. I just wanted to say that it's because of where we're located, we're considered to have 2 front yards. So that's the problem. We have our front yard as we consider is on West Street, but because we're on the corner, Firetown's also considered the front yard as well. But we have some very large arborvitaes that we've planted, so that's created a nice green screen from the street. And you can't really see into that, what we consider our backyard. So that's our major hardship, is we really don't have a backyard to put the pool in. We have.
If I may also note for the applicant, they do have 2 curb cuts. They do have a drive that connects from West Street to Firetown. So putting it in the very rear of the home, that is a drive back there between the house and the garage. As I drove in from Firetown Road, I exited out onto West Street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do have a piece of communication that I'll read in from Ashley Mercer Schwitter at 13 Firetown Road. She says, "Dear Zoning Board of Appeals, I fully approve the installation of a family swimming pool at my neighbor's house at 46 West Street. In fact, during these uncertain times of COVID-19, I think it is a very good idea. And then another email from Joe and Anne Marie Grella at 7 and 10 Firetown Road. To whom it may concern, we are emailing in the event we can't make it to the hearing on June 24th. We own 7 and 10 Firetown Road, which abuts 46 West Street. We are in full support of the pool that the Candelarios want to put in. They have complete privacy between the mature arborvitaes and the fence that abuts our property. If you need any other information, please feel free to contact us.
And if I may, I'll also state this was not their first location. We came to terms to make this a better location than their first requested location that came to my office.
Okay. We like compromise.
Resolution's the best.
Yeah. So the main hardships that you're describing, which is common in town, is having a corner lot where you've got 2 front yard setbacks. As Thomas said, you've got 2 curb cuts. Also, any other hardships or considerations we should think of in terms of the property?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Other questions from commissioners? Okay, and we're looking at a 24-foot variance, correct?
I believe that should calculate out correctly.
Okay. Anyone on the phone want to speak in favor of or against this application? Okay. Anybody else? Anything to say before I close it up? All right, I will call the hearing closed, and I'm going to ask for a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we proceed with application 20-05 of Richard Candelario for a variance to Article 8, Section A of the Simsbury zoning regulations to allow the installation of a pool at the property located at 46 West Street Road. In particular, citing the hindrance, the hardship rather, of dual frontage for a corner lot. And they appear to already have worked with the town, and this is the only place it could be facilitated. And the addition of safety that it be in the proximity of the home. And the actual setback would be 18 feet. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down.
24.
24 feet.
24.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other deliberation? Yeah, I'll say it seems like a larger variance than we typically see, but I appreciate, the fact that, working with the town, hearing from the neighbors, I think our job is to try to uphold the zoning regs, but also be reasonable within what's feasible on a property. So, I think the ability to be able to compromise makes a big difference in my mind.
Ashley Schwitter's house really is right behind them. And the fact that she's up in favor of this, I think speaks a lot. And I also did a drive-by today, and they have worked very hard to create a private backyard that will, I don't think anyone's even going to know the pool is there, to be honest with you. But and then the fact that they worked with the town, I think they've proven or gone out of their way to make it as manageable as possible for the town to approve it.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay. Enjoy your pool. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank all of you, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Have a good
We'll
night.
be in touch.
Thank you.
All right. And we're up to application number 20-06 of the McDonald's Real Estate Company, care of Russo and Rizzio. Who would like to speak on behalf of this application?
Chairman, that would be me, Raymond Rizzio. I think it's noted as Chris Russo, who's my partner, who's here tonight. But I've been handling McDonald's applications in the state of Connecticut probably for the last 20 years, and I'll be handling it for our office tonight.
Okay.
If I do read it into the record first, or do you want me to just go ahead?
If you can, we've already read it in, so if you can just describe your application and your hardship and what you're hoping for.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. We're really excited about this. As you know, this is probably one of the most attractive McDonald's in the state. It is very well kept. It's taken care of. McDonald's corporate actually owns the site. McDonald's spends probably more time than anybody in the country evaluating, studying to improve the efficiency of drive-throughs, the safety of drive-throughs. And especially as basically when I started doing work for them, I think if they had 30% of their business through drive-throughs, that would have been a lot. And over the 20 years, it's up to 70%. And then with the current crisis, at one point, it was probably 100%. But the drive-throughs have been evolving. And a lot of instances, sign regulations in towns have always been directed toward keeping down light, keeping down advertising, using the signs for reasons other than what I think McDonald's has done. The application we have before you tonight, we're seeking to add two what they call pre-sale signs, where you pre-order signs, which will get the customer ready. And what I want to explain to you tonight, we currently have two menu boards on the location right now. With McDonald's research and improvement and the ability to use these LED signs, those signs are 42 square feet each, up to basically 84 feet between the two signs. Because one of the problems is when you have a freestanding sign that can't rotate, we have to basically advertise breakfast, lunch, and dinner on that same menu board. The new signs will only be 27 square feet in size. So we'll have two signs of 27 square feet and then two signs of about 13 and a half square feet, which are pre-order signs to get the people basically prepared to order when they get in front of the order boards. So the order boards, total, believe it or not, even though we're adding two signs, we're shrinking the total square footage from 84 feet to 82 feet. More importantly, with regard to the size of the signs, there's a regulation that you have that you don't currently, basically no signs are supposed to exceed, I think, 32 square feet. All of our signs now, all four of the signs will be less than the 32 square feet instead of the two that basically exceed that. So let me talk to you about why we need this. First of all, it promotes efficiency. The pre-sale signs will basically, somebody with your pre-order will be able to go up, see what's basically the popular item today, get a view, get ready to order. When they get to the new order board, basically it'll switch 3 times a day. The new order board, which is now 27 square feet smaller, will basically show the breakfast menu when there's only breakfast. It basically rotates 3 times. It'll show the lunch menu at lunch, and it'll show the dinner menu at dinner. So people aren't going to be as confused. The other cool thing that it will do is, since we can be able to shrink the sign because we don't have to basically show 3 meals at one time, it'll also show your order. So one of the times, I'm sure you folks have been there where you through some gargling microphone, you make your order, you go to pick up your order, and geez, that double cheeseburger doesn't look anything like the Big Mac that got stuck in my bag. And you have, so what happens now is when you make your order at the order board, it will show what you're ordering. So it'll limit the amount of mistakes or misunderstandings that happen between the person ordering in their car, the person taking the order, and then the pickup. So all of this, we believe, McDonald's studies this. They have a whole McDonald's University. I've been out to it. It's now moved into the city of Chicago, and they study this. They have a whole manual on efficiencies and demands, and people to basically, from the time you order, you should have your food within between 120 to 180 seconds. That's the goal for every McDonald's. And by doing that, it's by educating their customer, having them ready when they get in front of the board. reducing any kind of miscommunication and reducing any kind and focusing on what their order is going to be versus finally getting to the board and sitting there and saying, now what did I think I wanted today? And spending a lot of time. Now, remember, these McDonald's were built years ago. So when you were looking to service 30% of your people, of your customers, and now elevated to 70, and during crisis times, almost 100%, time, efficiency, safety is what matters. And McDonald's has been superior at doing that. So a couple things that we're going to be doing is that we believe our hardship is that the regulations currently, I don't think, address the technology that is growing, that these LED signs are not going to be those ticker tape signs. There's no advertising. It's in the same location. It's not going to be visible. And believe it or not, the LED signs, and we gave a photometric plan, actually it's in your package, actually has less light than the current signs that are currently on site. We're also in a very unique location, kind of on the corner of Bushy Hill and Route 44. But we have Berkshire Bank on the corner, on one corner. We have the parking and its parking lot, basically its rear of its bank and its parking lot facing us on one side. To the rear side where the drive-through is, we have the parking lot for Best Buy. And then on the other side, we have the service area for Toyota. We don't border on any residential neighborhoods. We don't have any impact. We're not going to be visible. We're not looking to attract people off the highway with these signs. The signs face the drivers. And we believe that this will actually be an improvement. It will have no negative impact on any neighboring properties. It will help to be more efficient. And frankly, the signs that we're proposing are more consistent with the goals of your sign regulations than currently exist on the sign. We'll make them more conforming with regard to size. We'll reduce the amount of lighting. We'll allow for the efficiency of the drive-through to continue to, even though as the demand for drive-through increases, based on this new efficiency, we'll be able to service the customers, not create any kind of traffic issues, not create any kind of safety issues. That's really our presentation. I can go through it in more detail, but I think it's logical. It makes sense. We're doing this throughout the state. We have numerous applications. It's been very well received. People were always wondered about these LED signs, and they kept thinking about the highway and the distractions that it will cause for drivers. That's not the instance here. It's not the ticker, $1.69 a gallon. Please, get in here while you buy your cigarettes for, $20 a pack, and get a car wash. This is directly to the driver, the driver that's in front. It gives you preparation before you get to the order board. It gets you to the order board. You make your order. You'll be able to check your order while you're standing there, then go pick up your food and leave. It's a well-researched, it's well-documented. It's tried and true. They're rolling this out across the country, and it's been very successful. And our hardship typically is, and you know what happens, not you guys, but towns typically once every 5 to 10 years review their regulations. I mean, what has happened in the last 10 years in the restaurant industry, because of the crisis, because of technology, and because of people's demands, it's almost impossible for regulations to keep up with these changes. We also believe this is a unique spot so that you don't have to worry about setting precedent around the town. We sit between and surrounded by a bunch of empty parking lots for the most part, and we have no impact on the street or any drivers, and we don't back up to any residential neighborhoods where we could cause any kind of conflict. So we believe we're consistent with your plan of conservation and development. We think it's something to strive for on a case-to-case basis. I think it's not apart because of our location and the uniqueness of our location and the way that drive-through is currently situated. And that's really our presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I hope you receive this as warmly as we feel, as we're excited about rolling this out.
Well, thank you. One question, I think you mentioned that the signs just face the driver.
Yes.
Are there any signs, as you pull around the building where the signs face Route 44?
The signs basically, as there's the interior sign, which basically will face if I show you, if you look at it on the map, nothing will face Route 44.
Is there more like as you're coming along the
It's going to be
backside?
perpendicular to Route 44, the sign furthest from the building. If you look at the site plan, I don't know if I can, Gloria maybe can pull up the site plan. So the sign that's closest to the building on let's call it the inside lane, will basically be facing the car in the inside lane and looking on basically would be angled toward the Best Buy parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Toward the interior of the Best Buy parking lot. The other board will be perpendicular to Route 44 and not visible because of the screening you have along the street. So no sign will face Route 44. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hope so. So just thinking.
There you go. It's if you go to the top site plan, the first page, there we go. We'll move it up a little more. Yeah, we're right there.
Mm-hmm.
And the other nice thing about these is they dim automatically, so they don't light up very brightly. In fact, at night it's just rear lit. It'd be impossible for somebody to read. And keep in mind, we've gone from, you got to remember what the menu looks like. There's no way anybody's reading that on Route 44 going by at about 40 miles an hour. And they won't even really be able to see it. It's gonna look like just a small, basically a TV screen.
But I guess my point was like, because it will be changing versus the signs now are static.
But it changes. It doesn't change as each driver pulls up. It only changes 3 times a day. Okay. From breakfast over to lunch. So for that millisecond that it flips. Mm-hmm. Then from lunch over to dinner, that's it. So it's really, it's not a rolling sign. Gotcha. It's a sign that just allows us to present the menu that's available at the time the food is being served during those hours. Okay. It's not in any way a rotating menu. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yep. And Laura, can you scroll down to the actual pictures of the signs? One more down. Yep. Okay.
Correct. Yes. So if you look, they give you the difference between the sizes of the existing and the new, and you can see they're a lot slimmer. They're a lot easier to read. They're very clear, and and the size gets cut almost in half because we can cut the menu boards basically in half. We don't have to advertise a full day's worth of food. We basically only have to deal with the menu that's available at the time the driver's in front of the menu.
Mm-hmm. And when you speak of the light pollution, I know for us one of the variance request is for the internally lit menu board. You were describing how it automatically dims based on the lighting.
Correct. So as it gets darker, you don't have to have it as, believe it or not, as bright. It's almost inverse because you have the darkness actually allows the sign to stand out more.
And so you say, like, compared to the existing signs, it'll.
Oh my God, it's drastically different. If you look at if you scroll back up, Laura, please, you'll see the light impact, and basically there is you'll see 0.0 watts percentage of watts available that get even outside the driveway. What you see is basically barely nothing is visible basically from the street, and when you get to the driveway, you're basically looking like 1/10 of a watt per square foot. I mean, it's a significant drop in lighting because it's just so focused. There's no spread of light that you need to have to cover a whole menu board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Other commissioners?
I was wondering if you could talk a little more about the safety, because like you've successfully convinced me that it's not going to cause problems or anything like that, but I'm just concerned as to whether there's a legitimate hardship here.
Sure. Well, the legitimate hardship talks about when strict enforcement of regulations cause a hardship on a client, on a property owner that is different than that is unique to that property. And we believe that what's unique to our property, because we're so well insulated, the hardship would be that we're actually in a situation where we're reducing the size to actually make them more conforming than they currently exist. And the lighting is less than currently exist and permitted. And most importantly, a lot of the regulations are designed to avoid the advertising aspects of signs, of which we are not doing. So the hardship would be if you strictly enforce these things, you'd end up with bigger non-conforming signs that provide more light and are less efficient than what we're proposing. And that's just a matter of regulations, not being able to keep up with as quickly as technology's moving. I mean, it's amazing. People are, when you see what I just did an Amazon center, and to see how quickly things have changed with regard to distribution. When you think about the percentage, when you wrote your drive-through regulations, the percentage of business that went through a drive-through versus what it is now, you can't change your regulations quick enough to keep up with technology. But what you can do is when there's specific situations where the enforcement of these older regulations would cause a hardship, meaning in effect, you'd end up in a worse situation than you would if you granted the variance. That's an instance where there is a hardship. And we also think that you have the ability to do a case-by-case basis. And because of the uniqueness of the property, I don't think we set any precedent that you would have to worry about somebody else coming and say, hey, you gave it to McDonald's, therefore I want to have my signs illuminated and sell my cigarettes and pump and give a running ticker tape of what my gas prices are going to be. So the beauty of the ZBA, which I have found, and I embrace the ZBA because it allows you to do a situation by situation basis, then do a text change, which applies across the board. It looks like it makes sense for the one time they do the text change, but there's all unanticipated consequences. In this one, you can see exactly what you're approving. You know that it doesn't have to fall. It's not going to pop up somewhere else because it's done here. So the ZBA is an extremely useful board in situations like this where technology and use has basically outrun the regulations that currently exist.
Tom,
I hope I wasn't too wordy, but that's, after doing this all the years, you really realize the ultimate control in towns. And I sat on a ZBA myself in Fairfield, Connecticut for years. The ZBA has the ability to require people to build only what they propose and abide by the rules. And it only applies to that particular property. So if somebody else wanted to come here and move those signs a foot and turn them around and face Route 44, they have to come back to you for approval. So what we're asking for is all we get, and what we're at, and that runs with that property and doesn't allow anybody else to misuse those signs. I think that's the beauty of the ZBA.
So speaking of the signs, Tom, does this need to go before Design and Review Board?
The DRB, I believe, is for the Central Zone District. I don't believe that it applies to the Route 44 area. I would have to check with Michael on that, but it would be another step if needed. Mm-hmm. But I believe that's just for the Central Design District that the Design Review Board would look at that.
Okay.
That's actually not correct. Just to speak out, because I'm the chair of DRB, so I know what our scope is.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
No, please.
And we do stuff for 44. That's one of the things. And honestly, that actually is a prelude to my own question, which is why isn't this just going the normal channel before we are pursuing an appeal? In other words, the Zoning Board of Appeals, I believe.
This is mainly predicated on the internally lit aspect of the sign.
Okay, so that's the hardship, is the illumination.
It's the illumination, because under the town regulations, we don't allow internally lit signs. And there has been some precedent along Route 44 with some others. I know McDonald's has an internally lit clock out front. So there's been some things, and this kind of falls into the reason that we are a small sliver between Avon and other towns where they allow all this. And then you come through Route 44 in Simsbury, and it's not allowed. But with the McDonald's, what they're proposing is behind the building, and it's an internally lit sign already, but they want to propose an LED that dims and such. So yes, the main appeal here is for the internally lit sign.
Well, the current sign is internally lit. The current sign that's there now is already internally lit. Yes.
Mr. Rizzo, I'll let you speak to that.
I think most of it's lit. I know it's lit from the bottom, and because I've seen the lights there, and I think it's my understanding was it's not LED, and I didn't think it was internally lit.
Okay.
Okay, so they might have ground lighting, but
they have a lot of ground lighting, and that's what you don't. The beauty of the LED is you don't have that spread of. I talk with my hands, and I find my hands outside the picture all the time, so I apologize. But you don't have that spread of light. You have a much more controlled and directed light with the LED, and that's so, proven by the photometric.
So what I'm hearing is they don't currently have a internally lit menu sign. They're looking for an internally lit menu sign, and that's why we're here today.
And that they're adding 2 signs, even.
We're reducing the overall signage, but we're actually adding 2 signs. But what we'll do is, rather than having 2 non-conforming signs with regard to size, all 4 of our signs will be compliant with your size requirements.
Yep, that would be the secondary application for Article 10, Section C3 to permit 2 freestanding signs.
Mm-hmm.
So you're either approving or denying 2, one for an internally lit and one for 2 freestanding.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
Not really a question, but I'll say it before we close if there's a response. But this seems like I forgot what you call it when you run down the field circumventing. I know Cumberland Farms came through the normal channels. That's the ticker tape he's alluding to. And they were stopped. And this sort of, I am worried about a precedent where everyone with the illuminating sign wants is going to come to the ZBA. Personally, just speaking personally, I like illuminated signs. I find them less obtrusive. There's no spillover of light. I think they're a great vehicle. But that comes to the core of the Simsbury zoning regulations, which again, I do not concur with on a personal basis, but I'm not sure how we handle this because then everybody else that wants internally lit, we're saying that go to ZBA, which if that is what we're all in favor of, then fine with me. I'm not trying to throw up roadblocks, but I do want to acknowledge that this is a new direction to question the same thing many businesses want and, to be quite frank, need, because it's competition and you have to compete. I feel for them. I'm just concerned with the approach. If this is setting
my response, we met with staff and felt that this was probably the more direct, safer way to go than coming in with a text amendment that would be in effect town-wide. That our site was unique enough that the circumstances of reduction of size, this overall reduction of size, reduction of lighting, and making conforming signs of all that were now going to be on the property as for with regards to size, and adding the efficiency of it made our property unique enough to come before you on an isolated basis versus trying to write a regulation that would come across the town. I think that was the main reason. And we also have no impact on any resident. You have other commercial areas where these sign regulations would apply that back up the residential areas that are not on the main highways. We think that in this instance, it's such an isolated situation. it's unique in that it actually, why we have this hardship is because we're reducing and eliminating a lot of the concerns the regulation calls for. And that's why we believe that the ZBA was the best way to go and that the hardship would exist.
And Stephen,
I believe from the town standpoint that a text amendment would be more detrimental than a ZBA application in this case.
So we can claim a hardship for Route 44, just for clarification. Again, I'm not against it. I'm just making sure we're walking the tightrope correctly, because I know we shut down Hoffman last year when they tried to do something similar with illumination. And they're technically in this zone, and I'm okay because I understand the hardship of Canton and Avon. Why are we penalizing people when they're paying our property tax?
I'll speak to that for a minute, because I remember that application very well, and I think they're coming from very different purposes. So
Yeah.
the reason that Hoffman was applying for a variance because they wanted more light to
Advertising.
So
They were
when-
advertising their business.
Their hardship was we sit too far back on the property and no one can see us. So if you give us a variance, we can shine the light brighter and bigger and louder.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think a lot of us didn't agree with that. I think here is kind of a different approach.
We're not looking to draw anybody off
No,
the street.
I feel like the difference here is that this is not a sign that's advertising McDonald's, as Hoffman was advertising Hoffman. And it's not going to face the street because it's not meant to advertise McDonald's.
Oh, the pre-order.
So I'm just putting that out there that there's a difference. So if we were to craft when we word our motion, I think we have to be careful to, I don't know if there's a way to include verbiage that allows for that distinction.
If you would like, Commissioner, I was asked previously about hardship, and I think I could probably, in a summary after you talk, give you some language that I think would make you feel comfortable if the commission so deemed to approve the application.
Could we say that visibility of the legibility and visibility of the sign would be part of the hardship?
I think one of the things that I would, we had talked to Mike Glidden about this too, about coming before the ZBA. But I think what the important thing is that the regulation, that the signs are directed solely toward existing customers, are not advertising to off-site customers, and that the reduction in the size of the signs and in the illumination of light for the signs actually is more consistent with the regulations than the current non-conforming signs that are located on the property.
And I'll just add to that. I think, to me, one of the things that's compelling, if I were to state a hardship, because I think a lot of the other ones, it's not necessarily hardship per se. To me, the hardship is that the regulations are outdated in terms of the most up-to-date technology that's available. And I agree with town. I think, like the town's assessment that to do a strict text change, and Stephen, to your point, like some businesses may want internally lit signs that aren't using the newest technology, that, want it, have it be flashy and, like jumbo. And I think we would look at that as a case-by-case basis and say, that's not consistent with our town. Versus this, I think, is saying, by using the newer technology, we're actually reducing a nonconformity, reducing light pollution. I think that there's just some things that are probably going to make it better with the newer technology. But I think, like every application we look at, we really have to look at it each as a case-by-case basis.
I was there recently. Aren't the signs, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't the signs broken anyway? Didn't they need like an upgrade? I thought there were like pieces of paper in the signs. I thought they needed to be changed or upgraded anyway.
Well, they definitely need new signs, but the problem is when you have non-conforming signs, you really can't touch them or you lose them. So in other words, if we took the signs down, you lose your nonconformity. So with your approval, we're able to improve the signs, bring the signs up to snuff, reduce the lighting and everything else. But until we have when you have a nonconformity, once you take it down, you lose it. We can't do anything to those signs without some sort of approval by the ZBA, or come in with much smaller signs that aren't illuminated, that don't conform. So the hard part is our only way to improve the signs that are currently older, non-conforming, kind of beat up, is to come before you with an application like we have today. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess I'll a lot of times what we do is try to think of scenarios and play things out. We have two motions before us. So I feel like for me personally, I'm pretty convinced on the internally lit portion of it. Could you do without the two other freestanding, the pre-order?
It's part of the overall reduction in the big signs to get the people to focus on what they're ordering, so they don't just get in front of the order signs and sit there for 2 minutes and go through the menu piece by piece. So McDonald's is the technology and the research to show that they can cut their order time down, sometimes almost in half, by basically preparing the people to order. And that, when you've increased your total customer use from 30% to 70% and sometimes 100%, is very important in avoiding what we talked about. Commissioner Michelson asked about safety, is getting the cars to move so that they don't back up. You don't have cars sitting in parking spaces that now are taking too long to get through the queue. It's a very important, the reduction of the menu sign and the pre-sign kind of go together, and by reducing the size of both of them. And if anything, the two pre-sale signs, the only thing the pre-sale signs look at is they're aimed toward the Toyota parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
So those are before, no one really even sees them unless you're sitting in the drive-through waiting to order, or you're somehow waiting for service at Toyota and want to figure out it's going to be too small to read anyway. So we really, the whole program is the two of them going together creates the greatest efficiency. And in this instance, because of their location, we don't believe there's any downside to those pre-signs, and the total combination of all the signs still reduces the total square footage of the signs that currently exist on the site.
Is anyone on the call who wants to speak in favor of this application? Okay. Any other comments, questions?
Well, one of the things, it's the beauty of having no neighbors, I think.
I have one question. So you're talking about preventing cars from backing up. I mean, I've driven past there many times. To the best of my knowledge, there's never been any issues with cars backing up onto the road as is. Has that, to your knowledge, been an issue in the past, or do you expect that to be an issue in the future?
Not onto the road, but then you got to remember you have parking spots. If we can go to the site plan again. You have park. Sorry, Laura, that's just it'll be the first page.
I think most of us are probably familiar with the.
Yeah. Okay. You have that parking, those lanes of parking up to the top page. So you're trying to make sure that you have no conflict between all the parking, the parking, and that's where some of our handicap parking is. Most of our handicap, where the cars, which are bigger cars, so that you don't want to have the least amount of impact that you could have on those cars that'll have to back out from those spaces and then go through the pass-through lane. So the quicker you can move the cars, the quicker you create gaps, the better it is for those, you see those parking spots on the top side of the site plan,
Mhm.
on the non-Route 44.
Yeah.
It's funny because you stores 20 years and then you just see the way things have changed, yet you can't grow your boundary lines. So the only way to move cars quicker is to be more efficient so that you can handle the demand. And these signs have gone a long way. That and the ability to have the double drive-through has made a tremendous amount as I've done these McDonald's across the state of Connecticut. The addition of the double drive-throughs and the pre-signs and the new order boards have really helped the amount of wait. And believe it or not, now I know this is off base, but we actually now in the new McDonald's have to we just did a few of them down further in the state where you have large order spots reserved for like Grubhub, reserved for Uber Eats, and that so that food can be, because now McDonald's goes through Uber Eats and Grubhub, and people, they take multiple orders at a time, and orders are kind of run out to the cars. So it just evolves so quickly with technology. And I don't I'm practicing law 30 years. What's gone on in the last 10 years is just incredible. We also, look, we're doing a zoning hearing by Zoom. I never anticipated that.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I've definitely been to the McDonald's over the years, so I've seen the parking lot and just like the whole structure evolve. And I do see what Mr. Rizzio is saying about the safety of keeping the cars going, because you have people backing up, and if it's also a 2-lane drive-through too, like it's going to be easier for people to back up out of the parking spots and move forward. It could create less crashes. I don't know if there have ever been any fenders or anything like that. So just my personal comment, I see what he's saying regarding the safety of having the cars move quickly.
Cool. Thank you. Anybody else? Comments before I close it up?
I'm just gonna put my 2 cents in. Unlike Stephen, I kind of like the no lit sign rule that we have in town. I look at it from a different standpoint. He's a business owner. He has a whole different point of view, and that's part of the beauty of this board. It's a mixture of people. I've lived here my whole life pretty much, and I appreciate the fact that it doesn't look like, a carnival when you drive down the street. So my concern is that if we allow this, the precedent we're setting, that it's clear that this is not a sign to advertise this business, and it's not a sign that that people at the road will have any access to, or that it's not infringing on anyone else's privacy in any way. I think if we approve it, that's paramount, because that was the whole thing about Hoffman. We hands down said no to them. We didn't, it was not even a question for us. And because that precedent is, just because it's Route 44, it doesn't mean we don't care about it. If this was on Route 10, would we be approving this? That's something to think about. So, back when I was a kid, they tried to put McDonald's on Route 10 and it got squashed in about 30 seconds. So, we have to be careful that we're not setting a precedent that these lit signs are a-okay with us, because to me, that would be unfortunate. I would not be okay with that.
Commissioner, I hope I try to set the record and stress the uniqueness of the site, the uniqueness of the location, and the change from what currently exists to what can be an improvement, so that it sets it apart from a unique aspect that gives this commission the comfort to go forward. So I appreciate it, and I hope I addressed all your concerns, because I won't be back, I can tell you, for an advertising sign before you. I can promise you that.
Okay. Anything else before I close? Okay. I will call the hearing closed for application 20-06. Can I ask for a motion, please?
I'll do it if it's okay. I'll make a motion that we approve application 20-06 of the McDonald's Real Estate Company, care of Russo and Rizzio LLC, owner applicants, for a variance of the Simsbury zoning regulation to Article 10, Section C.2 F C.7D to replace 2 existing menu boards and install 2 pre-order menu boards which allow light to project through the face of the sign. The screen will change on a limited basis, and it will be 2 freestanding signs for each existing sign as present. The unique hardships for this consideration is safety for transient traffic in their parking areas. It's a move into greater conformity than their present non-conforming signs. It provides enhanced visibility and safety to the site. This will be clearly only for customer order viewing only and no other signage. It will also clearly not be visible from the street in any way.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Go ahead. That was beautiful.
Yes, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that detail.
I feel like we've talked it out. Like, I think for me, the compelling piece is just, I think we're going to reduce non-conforming structures and improve the property. I appreciate all of you thinking of just the slippery slope that we want to avoid. And I think we make that clear. Other thoughts?
Mine were sort of in the motion, so I think we need to adhere. I mean, unless anyone wants to throw any other considerations to prevent a waterfall, if you will, not a waterfall, but you know what I mean, other people clinging to this as a precedent.
Yeah.
It most certainly needs to be known this is not a new precedent.
Yeah, I think, maybe just, for the record, that it actually reduces the light pollution. That it's not for advertising, and it reduces the light pollution that would be the concern with a lot of the other, lit structures.
It's also like the signs are going to be smaller too, so they're not going to be like big and obnoxious in other situations that we might come across.
And they're not going to face 44.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Okay. I'm going to ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to make a note because we didn't notify it in the beginning of the meeting for general commission business. The appeal of the matter of application 2002, Tallwood Hollow Properties LLC, Jeremy Verrill's attorney has sent us a letter withdrawing his appeal of the ruling of the zoning agent, me. I'll read you his letter. Basically, it says, this email will confirm Tallwood Hollow Properties LLC and Jeremy Verrill's consent to withdraw the requested Zoning Board of Appeals hearing matter 20-02 pursuant to the cease and desist letter of March 30th, 2020, due to compliance with these items set forth in this letter. Please confirm this receipt, which I did. And basically, we had a meeting between myself, the town planner, Mr. Verrill, and his attorney, and came to a compromise and a set plan of action in order to bring him into compliance. And that matter has been moving forth on a quick pace and should be satisfying the town's needs within the 60-day period as stated in his cease and desist.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Not just for, keeping us up to date, but working through that process. We have seen some of these that unfortunately drag out for a very long time, and it gets contentious and ugly and not what we want for our town. So, making good neighbors is part of it.
I strive for resolution, and most of these issues have a resolution that can be met and aren't very large hurdles. Sometimes they can be financial hurdles, and we're willing to work as long as people make strides. That's my approach to things, so hopefully it'll keep more things away from the ZBA and wasting their time on frivolous appeals.
That's great. Well, good work.
Thank you.
Okay, we have minutes from May 27th. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
I did. I
Okay.
didn't find anything personally. Joanne, you're on mute.
I wasn't at that meeting, so.
We
Right.
talked about you predominantly.
You know, I totally zoned it out.
It's in the minutes.
It was a tough month, so. Figure it out.
Yeah. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Come on, Josh or Ally? Mark, step up.
I wasn't
I-
there, so I'm not gonna do it.
I approve. I read them and I didn't see anything that was, I was at that one.
So you can make a motion. Can someone second?
I'll second.
Oh,
I'll give that to Jeff.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody taking time out on a Wednesday night. And Tom, do you know if we have other pools coming our way?
I would lean on Laura for that, considering our office situation and ins and outs, and not even I can't remember the last time I saw my boss or Laura. So
As of
there's
right
a possibility.
now, I have no applications on my desk, although I have heard rumors of some trickling in within the next couple days. So we'll have to stay tuned. It's possible that we might meet next month.
I've been working with a few to try to get them around it, and there's a few others that are way deep in the weeds that will either see or not see, but I'm trying to work with them. So at this point, we got 30 days. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be a light schedule.
Okay. Yeah. And I would just request, I think for all of our sakes, if, we can have clarity on what the variance, how many feet, that would be really helpful.
Yep.
I will try to work on that more often. As you know, I'm learning, so I'd be happy to give you whatever you need to know.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody.